Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Royal Blue podcast. Of course, still on lockdown, still at home, but still bringing you the best podcast around on the Blues, and we will be chewing the fat over all the major talking points at Goodison Park. Even though there is no footy, there's still plenty to talk about because you, the listeners, have sent in a raft of questions. We sent out a plea earlier in the week, and you have delivered, so thank you very much for that. And joining me to answer those questions today, Gav Buckland, Adam Jones, and Sam Carroll at various points across the Merseyside region. And without further ado, I think we will get stuck into them. So, chaps, the first few questions are going to be on the season and the situation and obviously the coronavirus and what it's doing to the game. Forgive my pronunciation. Carl Oscar Lielberg has asked, quite straightforward, are we still sure the season will be finished? Nice, easy one to start with. Who wants to pick that one up? Go on, Alan. You spoke first.
Go on, I'll go. No, I don't think we can be 100% sure that the season's going to be finished. And, I think something that we discussed earlier in the week, wasn't it? I think we all kind of expected it to be delayed further than the 3rd of April. And then obviously we've got this delay until the 30th of April now, but we've just had stricter measures brought in across the country by Boris Johnson just yesterday. Apparently they're not going to get reviewed for another 3 weeks, and then I think we'll have to see where the situation lies from that point on. But the situation as it currently stands just seems to be getting worse and worse. It really doesn't seem like there's an end in sight at this stage anyway. And even in terms of just like going outside and having a normal life, it just seems so far away that you can't really be thinking about bringing football back into this mix as well. So, if it does get to the point where it's, mid-May, end of May, and we still haven't restarted again, then you've got to think that the football authorities, not just here, but across the continent, across the world, are going to be thinking to themselves, look, is it time to just scrap this and try for next season and then move on? I think that's going to come with a lot more implications than if they just tried to end this season in any way, shape or form. But we can't be sure that this season is going to end now.
So Gav, just picking on what Adam has said there and talking about having major doubts that the season would finish, how would you finish it? Because as Adam points out, there feels like there's no scenario which pleases everybody, because if we said, right, the season's null and void and we're just going to let the country get back to normal, get rid of the virus, and we'll start again hopefully in August or something around that. Yeah. If you're our mates across the park, you go, hang on a minute, we're winning the league for the first time in 30 years. Yeah. We can't just null and void the season. If you're coming up from the Championship, you're saying, hang on a minute, you're saying you're closing the door on the richest game in football. They say the playoff final, don't they, and all this sort of thing. But then if you try and work out a points per game ratio, is that fair? Because everybody's got different fixtures. I just don't know.
I mean, by my own point, going, saying what Adam was saying, that there's 750 million reasons why the season needs to finish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think what's that, if there was no financial penalty associated with this, then you could see a way where they'd look to try and cancel the season or whatever. But what's driving this obviously is they're saying maybe start from the 1st of June, because the penalty on the table can actually be 750 million quid, isn't it? Something like that. Which all, the Premier League, they'll take the hit. If they were to cancel it, I don't know. I think what they want to do would keep litigation to a minimum, wouldn't they? Mm. So they don't want, you can envisage something along the lines of everybody stays in the Premier League and for one season only they promote the 2 clubs who are top of the Championship at the moment, but that's opening up a can of worms, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the Championship. I can't see anybody getting relegated, them finishing the season and anybody getting relegated from the Premier League, after 29, 30 games. Because people got games in hand, haven't they, for the start? And the points per game is fraught with difficulty, isn't it? Because it assumes everybody's played the same opponents, and they haven't. Some might have played Liverpool twice and Man City twice, some other teams played them only one each. So it's difficult. What I will say is I don't see anybody get relegated in that position. They want you know what's going to happen there. Lose under. I know you have parachute payments, but lose money, lose sponsorship, all that type of stuff. I can't see that happening.
No, okay. Sam, any thoughts on that question about are we still sure the season will get finished?
Yeah, the season should get finished, shouldn't it? I think I feel like now it's just going to run until when it runs, whether that be June, July, August, July. The season's going to get played till some point because it has to, doesn't it? I think we touched on in earlier in the week that with kind of relegation, promotion, Europe, and the huge financial implications, then this season will get finished, and it's the next seasons then after that I think are going to be the real struggle in terms of fitting it all into a calendar and whether we'll lose games and stuff. But as we were talking about before we came on, it's unbelievable now to think that it looks like the National League season is over, and obviously there's not steps 1 to 7 there. A lot of local clubs to Everton and Liverpool now their season's done. So we would never have thought we'd have even hit that stage. So although it's a totally different kettle of fish in terms of the money, it's happening. Seasons are finishing in football now. So although it's a little bit of a different situation, I'm still pretty much 100% certain that we just have to finish it. Whether it comes back in the winter or whenever it comes back, that you just can't not do it. So yeah, football will come back, I think, for this season. But then whether we take out the FA Cup and the League Cup and stuff like that next season, I think that'll be where it gets really interesting.
Indeed. You sort of touched on a question James Andrew has posed to us. Thanks, James, for your question. Are these top players going to be happy with 3 years of non-stop football due to trying to push 10 games in, which then has a domino effect for the next 4 years? So Gav, there, James Andrew sort of saying, there's going to be a domino effect if we try and squeeze these things in. A player is going to be happy playing football almost continuously, given the international tournaments are coming back round. The Olympics have been delayed today, and so on.
We've got the World Cup. We've got the funny season, haven't we, around the World Cup in 2022 as well, haven't we? I don't know. It's an interesting one. I would doubt it, but just be lucky that you're playing. At the end of the day, just be lucky that. Just thank you, lucky stars, you're professional footballers. Would be what I think. But yeah, you're going to see. I'm picking up on Sam's point. There is it's a problem for this season and whatever next season looks like, isn't it? In some respects, next season might cause even a bigger issue because there's so much to cram into it. And you suspect that a lot of players will not want to play 3 or 4 competitions next season. I think something's got to give in the calendar. If you're a professional footballer, something's got to give, and to fit all that in over but next season, which could be truncated and fitted into like a sort of 6-7 month period. Then we got the Euros, then we got the following season. Then we got the African Cup of Nations, South America, all that type of stuff. It's going to be very difficult for players. I can see players not wanting to play more than, say, Premier League football and European football for a start.
Because Gav, you talked about litigation earlier when we talked about the season generally and the Premier League and the TV deals, etc., and all that goes with it. There could even be, if seasons are truncated and games are coming in thick and fast in a really tight schedule, you've got the PFA, you've got FIFPro, you could be getting individuals going down that legal route, challenging all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And their agents are going to be having a word, aren't they? And I think you would like to think any calendar that's set up from June onwards, there will be consultation with the players. And like I say, like to be, we've got supporters and all this as well, haven't you? Because they're already talking about that players are just going to be ripe for injury, aren't they, to come back in June, having not played. And, if you think you're playing, say if you're at the bottom of the table, you play 9 massive games in a short space of time, and you've not really trained and stuff, that's going to be really difficult. So there's going to be it's not like the start of a new season. And then if you get injured, then what happens then if your injury takes you into the next season and stuff like this? So it's a hell of a lot to think about, more just how this season ends. It's, as you say, like it's that domino effect, isn't it? This ramifications of this could carry on, beyond the 2022 World Cup.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to the questions. Plenty, as we expected, on transfers and the squad. We're cracking. Danny Broderick, can each of you choose a realistic signing to improve the squad next season? Adam, I will throw that one over to you first of all. Realistic, by the way. So no Neymars, no Messis.
Why wouldn't Neymar be realistic? Kurt Zuma, I think. We're in need of a centre-back. Kurt Zuma was obviously a huge target last summer. He's played a few games for Chelsea this season. He's not exactly a first-team regular for Chelsea this season. I think he just fit better at Everton. And, I just think he would still add a lot to our options in defence. So I'd probably go for Zuma. I did try my hardest to try and think of a right winger or like a right midfielder, but it's so hard. Like I don't envy Brandon Ancelotti for having that on their plate to try and search for. But I think Zuma would be a nice sort of realistic one. I think I think he'd improve the defence certainly.
Good one, Sam.
Yeah, we've been talking about this today. So apart from myself, I think I'd be a savvy addition to
you take us down, Sam.
Forgot that was getting filmed. To be honest, in the summer I was confused by the links, but after watching them this season and kind of thinking about where we need to strengthen, I definitely think that going back in for Decore would probably be an interesting sign. And I just think he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he can defend, he can attack, and I really think he's that kind of profile that could offer something a little bit different to Gomez and Delph. And maybe we haven't seen too much of Jabama. Maybe the only snagging point to that would be is he too similar a profile to maybe what brands wanted Jabama to be, and hopefully what he will be. Obviously if Jabama does fit that brief, then maybe you're looking for more of a forward thinking midfielder, or as Adam said, a winger. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think there's just a few key. I think centre back, centre mid, and winger. If we can get one of those each, then I'd be delighted this summer. But yeah, I definitely think Decore at the moment. Hopefully, if you get him for a reasonable price, I really think he'd fit in well.
Gav?
Well, I'm going to say not there because I've not been part of this question, so I had time to think about it. And I was going to say Kurt Zuma, and Adam went straight in there, didn't he?
We can have him. Kurt Zuma. Do you think that ship sailed though?
I'm not sure. I mean, the other one which Sam mentioned, Decore. How old's Decore? Is he 28?
Yeah, I think he's 28, 29, yeah.
29, isn't he? Yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation, wouldn't it?
27 according to Google.
Oh, is he? My apologies.
Turned 27 on January 1st.
Oh, my apologies, Abdullah, yeah.
Yeah.
In case you're listening.
He will be. He loves the Blues.
I'd say I'd go with Adam Zuma. What I would say though is, and again I'm going on Karen Ad's theme, is desperately need a right winger who can score goals, and we need a left footer. I'm thinking if not Zuma, the lads be linked with Gabriel, is it? Is it the centre half?
Mm-hmm. Centre half, yeah.
Yeah, I think he could. We just need a left-footed player. I mean, I was thinking about this. We've been speaking about Baines being renewed the contract, and but he should not. If you've got a left-footed centre half, sometimes if they're the right sort of, they've got the right sort of ability, flexibility, you can play them at left back, can't we? And that's one of the things we've missed, haven't we? We haven't had a left-footed centre half who can fill in at left back.
Yeah,
because Les got used to do that, didn't he?
He did.
And I think a left-footed centre half maybe, and he could be quite a decent one, I think, if not sooner.
In terms of wingers, would anybody have any objections to Memphis Depay? Just throwing that out there.
Maybe.
Could play across the three.
Yeah, that his time at Manchester United would still just stick with me a little bit. I know he probably didn't go to Manchester United at the right time. Manchester United were in a world of transition, and I'm not saying that it was all Depay's fault, but I just don't think he seemed to adapt all that well to the Premier League during his time here. So I think that would always kind of stick in the back of my mind. Like, it's very different to be able to go to, you know, Holland or France and be able to perform the way he has done. And he's performed fantastically well in those countries, don't get me wrong. But, and I'm not saying Premier League experience is all that it should take, but for somebody who has spent, you know, a significant amount of time in the Premier League and it just didn't click for him, I think that would kind of stick with me. And if we were to go for someone like Depay, Leon would presumably want a fair wedge of money to be able to prize him away. So would we be able to get someone a little bit better for cheaper? I'd probably think so. So I'd maybe stay clear of that one personally.
It's not as if you've got any history of buying former Man United players or Man United players. I mean, if you remember, Phil, I remember when we spoke about him on the podcast, it was about 3 years ago, because I think when we sniffing after Depay when he was on sort of Man United at one stage. Remember when?
Yes, Koeman was really interested. Yeah. Funny how these names keep on cropping up, isn't it? Yeah. No, just throwing it out there. Okay, moving on. Bravo Whiskey has asked this question. I think we may have slightly covered it, but I'll put it in anyway. Do you think we won't sign a holding midfielder because of Jean-Philippe Gbamin? We paid £25 million for him, and he has 4 years remaining on his contract after all. It does seem that Carlo does want a midfielder, though, which probably says that Gbamin, Gomez, and the new signing would be, you know, in the top three of his options next season, plus another one. But I guess the other one is perhaps up for debate, isn't it?
Yes, I think that a lot of it can depends, doesn't it, on maybe what Carlo's thoughts are himself. You know, I've got no doubt that, you know, Marcel played a part in signing Gbamin, and you would think that just because he's had a difficult season through injuries, his opinion on him hasn't changed drastically, and he'll be telling Carlo, look, there's a player here that you can use. But on the other hand, then Carlo himself might be saying, well, look, I want to sign this midfielder and I want to sign that midfielder. And, you know, I'd guess that after Farhad has brought in a manager of his calibre, that whatever Carlo wants, you know, within reason, Carlo should probably get this summer, shouldn't he? So if Ancelotti turns around and says, okay, great, I think Gbamin looks like he might be decent, but just in case he isn't a 1 aim and a 1 in, then he probably might go out and sign another one and be left with a little bit of a surplus. And, you know, that could also then lead to moves for some of the midfielders who are at the club. You know, Morgan Schneiderlin would be one of them. The future of Tom Davies probably not nailed down as maybe the long-term contract he signed last summer suggests. So there's definitely room to manoeuvre in there, and I think a lot of it will just depend on what Ancelotti wants to do. But, you know, the big hope with Gbamin, I think you wrote it recently, Phil, you know, he's kind of got better through absence, hasn't he? You know, and the only problem is now there's going to be a lot of expectation for him. You know, when he plays his first game of next season, whenever that may be, or even this season now, you know, a lot of people are going to look to him to hit the ground running, which can any player do that after a year out? And, you know, he'll be starting afresh in the Premier League for a second time. So it's difficult. And I think probably, you know, like Adam's piece last night, I think the goalkeeper situation this summer is interesting, but just as interesting is the midfield situation. You know, we need a winger, we need a centre-back, but there's a lot of kind of intricate kind of stories that can happen in this midfield in a lot of different ways that it can go. But I think if Gbamin is the player that Brands hoped he'd be, you know, it takes such a pressure off in the transfer window this summer, because then I think if Carlo can get one top-class centre-mid to go there, then I think we've got a midfield capable of competing with the top six.
Adam, as Sam alludes to, you did write about the goalkeeper situation, and a question him from Tom at T Brewski. What do you think rumours surrounding a new goalkeeper mean for Jordan Pickford's future?
I'm not sure they'd affect his future all that much. I think it'd hopefully affect his form, because I think I'm probably one of a fair few number of Everton fans who think that Pickford maybe just needs a bit of a challenge, because he just doesn't really have that challenge at the minute, does he? You know, for the majority of the season, Martin Stekelenburg has been the backup to Pickford, and, you know, while he's been a really solid backup option for Everton since he joined in 2016, Is he going to be a man that challenges Pickford? The last time he played for Everton was in that League Cup defeat to Southampton last season. So you'd think not. Jonas Losel was signed in the summer, and you were hoping that he might be able to be the one to push Pickford, but instead it still seemed to be Stekelenburg who was, getting the places on the bench. Losel didn't even manage to get a cup game before he was back out on loan at Huddersfield. His future looks to be up in the air a little bit because, he's going to be returning to Everton now, having not played the game for Everton. Huddersfield don't look like they're going to be able to afford him permanently in the summer. So is he going to be left a little bit in limbo? Stekelenburg's contract's out in the summer. He's going to be left a little bit in limbo. Do Everton offer him a new deal? Do they let him go? And then you've got João Virginia as well, who's an incredibly exciting young talent, but is he ready for the Premier League? His loan at Reading would probably suggest that he maybe needs a loan move somewhere else as well. So I think if Everton were to sign, another really top class goalkeeper, I think it'd just push Pickford that little bit more, and maybe we'd be able to see Pickford back to his best again. Like that first season when he joined us, he saved us so many points in that first season. Maybe if he can get back to that sort of form, then if we could have a little bit of a battle in terms of goalkeepers, then that's only going to benefit us. I know it was probably what Silva wanted, but we want two players in every single position, and I just don't think we've got that at goalkeeper at the minute. And I think just the signing of a top class goalkeeper, it wouldn't mean Pickford gets pushed out the door. It'd just mean that we finally have that competition in that position.
I think that's the juxtaposition that Adam points out, isn't it? We do need that push at the same time. It's a problem that Everton have had since we signed Tim Howard. You sign a goalkeeper who you are largely reading between the lines, telling, but you'll have to sit on the bench all season. And even the way Pickford's going at the moment, and you might not even play cup games either, even if our current keeper isn't in that good of form. Do you know what I mean? And I get that there's still, it's obvious Pickford is still better than Losel and Stekelenburg, even when he's not in the most, not even bad form, when he's just been a little inconsistent. But it's a tough sell, isn't it? For any goalkeeper to join, and that's what makes it so kind of interesting that Stekelenburg is a safe pair of hands for a second and third choice. I still think Losel on paper was a sensible sign, and I think maybe he didn't expect the challenge with Pickford to be kind of as difficult as what it was, and then obviously went to chase a spot in the Danish national team. So I still think we could probably be left with a similar situation in that it would kind of make sense to offer Stekelenburg a 1-year deal if he settled here and wanted to do that, and Losel could come back and be second choice. But then with Euros getting pushed back, then I suppose he's in the same boat again of needing to get in that squad.
Exactly. That was my next question. What do you think we do? Or do you think Jonas Losel is thinking? Because as you say, Sam, he went to Huddersfield in January because he wanted to make sure he was in the squad for the Euros. The Euros are now being put back for 12 months. He will return to Everton, presumably at the end of whenever the season is, possibly before, because obviously they had Grabara, didn't they? I think, and he got injured. So if he comes back to fitness, there may be a decision there anyway. But his situation hasn't changed.
Yeah, and I think that's my worry with the whole thing is that the two guarantees is Pickford will be number one, and you need Virginia to go out on loan and hopefully a better loan. And it happens, and especially with a young keeper, it just didn't work out at Reading. A couple of mistakes, and you're out the team, and a change of manager, and he's back at Everton all of a sudden. But he needs to go out on loan to build his confidence and to get a good run of senior men's football. The worry is that, as we've spoken about already, there's work that needs to be done across the board. And if Stekelenburg doesn't sign a new deal, and Losel comes back from Huddersfield and says, "Well, look, for me, nothing's changed. I want to go out on loan again," unless you're going to put your foot down and say, "Well, tough, you're number two, get yourself on the bench," and risk kind of rocking the boat with him a little bit, then you're potentially having to go out and sign two senior goalkeepers in a summer transfer window, which then leads back to Adam's point that if you're Marcel Brands and Carlo Ancelotti behind the scenes trying to get a centre-back, a centre-mid and a winger to immediately start in the first team, then it's going to be difficult to find a goalkeeper with the right attitude and the right ability to push Pickford. So, it's, especially with all this kind of going on in the background of coronavirus and the season getting pushed back, and when Stekelenburg's contract would run to and all the legal implications of that. Quite a complicated situation, which could go a variety of ways, really.
Gav, Chris Cohen has got an absolute doozy of a question for you here, mate. With the loss of with the loss of revenue most teams will face due to coronavirus, what do you believe the chances are Everton's summer business will be minimal? So there's a couple of questions in a question there in terms of. So do you think Everton will be hit financially by this delay, or do you think significantly they would be hit financially by a season being cut off at this point? And does that affect potentially what we do whenever this transfer window is?
Yeah. Have you got an hour? I think, financially, we are vulnerable, aren't we, in terms of if the season was truncated and there was a smaller TV payment to clubs in the Premier League, that Everton, because our commercial income's not that great, because our match day income's not that great, we are heavily reliant on TV money. So any reduction in that TV money, however small, would hit us substantially. That said, is what then comes into play for me would be then FFP, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
In terms of living within your means, and in normal FFP terms, if say we lost 30 million in TV money, it may be more, we'd have to make that up. But if the FFP rules were relaxed, then we may still be able to carry out business. Because as we know, transfers don't hit you in the year you buy a player, hits you over the course of the contract.
Of course.
So I would say probably not. My feeling would be not that great, as long as we guarantee future income in future years. And of course, we just don't know what football's going to look. It goes back. We don't know what football's going to look like post this traumatic period, do we? But all things being equal, probably not that much, as long as FFP rules were sort of reflected. The fact that actually there's some very unusual circumstances at the moment.
And Gavin, we won't labour on this point, but and also as FFP, what about the Premier League profit and sustainability rules? Do you think now that this spells the end or a revision of that £105 million figure that you're allowed to lose over a 3-year period as a maximum?
I would think they would have the same what's called force majeure rule, isn't it? That if there's something outside your control that comes in and affects your finances, then that would be taken into account. I know within FFP it does. I would imagine the Premier League would have to review that, regardless of what whether there's a paragraph in there or not. I would imagine there will be, to be honest with you, Phil.
Yeah.
What needs to be avoided though is something, and this is across football, is FFP is not going to count this year. Let's go out and spend a load of money. But which hopefully wouldn't happen. But I think we will be all right in the great scheme of things, as long as some of the FFP rules and Premier League rules were loosened. Not just for this year, maybe even that's another one that maybe go into next year as well. So our financial year runs up to the end of changed up to the end of June, didn't it?
Yeah.
So there will be an impact end of this June this year, perhaps, because the TV income would have been due to pay up to the end of June, and also the next financial year as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's 2 financial years that this incident, for whatever, for want of a better phrase, would affect. You would think, hopefully, that there would be some understanding financially with both the Premier League and FFP across those 2 financial years.
Absolutely.
In terms of loosening the rules a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, here's a good one for Adam. Do you think Carlo has had enough time to assess the squad and who he wants to keep or sell as he expected? Or does he need... or was he expecting another 8 to 10 games in which to make that decision? That's from Michael Esney.
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because I think he quite rightly would have expected to have, from the day he joined until the end of the season, to make this decision. Now,
and of course, he may still have those games, of course. Let's make.
Of course, yeah. Like he absolutely could still have those games, but there's no doubt in my mind that it will be crossing his mind at this point, and it'll be crossing the minds of a lot of the club's hierarchy at the minute. Look, we might not get these games so we might have to make quicker decisions than we expected on the current squad. Having said that, I'm not sure. I think Carlo, in a very short amount of time, has got every aspect of this Everton squad that he could have possibly got. He got, the highs of, some really good performances across when he first joined. He had the kind of late collapse at Newcastle. He had the Merseyside derby defeat. He had that Chelsea defeat as well. He's kind of encapsulated all that is good and bad about this squad at the minute. So, in a way, what else could he have possibly learned? Apart from players who are injured, the likes of Gabaman, you can't really judge him as of yet. But apart from that, he'll have seen these players week in, week out for a good number of months now. He's seen a wide range of performances on the pitch. He's seen all the inconsistencies that we've always said are rampant throughout this squad. So, in a way, what else could the players have taught him in these last 8 to 10 games? Could they have put together a run for Europe? Can they still put together a run for Europe? Maybe, we don't know. But in my head, I don't think there's a lot more that Carlo is going to learn about these players. And I think, he might have decisions already in his head. We don't know.
Indeed, we do have more questions that have come in on transfers, but we will get to them in the pod later in the week or next week. So thank you for those. Just quite a lot. We want to get across as many areas as we can. Perfect. This is one for Sam. What next for the under-23s players, Sam? Specifically ones with contracts that end this summer, like Nathangelo, Marcello and Morgan Feeney. That comes from the Street End 1878.
Yeah, we obviously went to meet Unsworth a few weeks back, didn't we? And recorded that special podcast with him, in which it was clear that it's been as much of a transition for Unzi and the under-23s this season as it has been for the first team over the last couple of years. So, a lot of contract questions. We answered the Lewis Gibson one. There was a lot of talk about his contract. We got him signed up, got him out on loan, and by all accounts, he's flying. I don't think he's lost the game yet, has he? And barely conceded the goal. In terms of Marcello, obviously we know that the club have got an extension, an option for an extension on his contract. Would they take it at this moment? Probably not. And that's not because Marcello hasn't been a good servant to that under-23 team, and not because he doesn't impress. He quite often looks like one of the better players in that team. But, the lad is now, 20, 21? Probably time to let him kind of go and stand on his own 2 feet and look for a senior move. And Morgan as well could be in that same boat. The only thing that maybe I could see happening with Feeney could potentially be a similar situation to Harry Charsley.
Yeah.
He's, suffered a really unfortunate injury that kept him out for a bit of time, like what Morgan's had at Tranmere. So cruel on a lad who is a boss Evertonian as well. And whether the club might hand him what they did to Harry and say, look, 6 months, get yourself fit again. You can play every game in 23s, scouts coming down to watch you. And then, Harry ends up joining Mansfield, I think it was, in January. Something like that, I think would be nice for Morgan. But I think Morgan has also got enough stock that it wouldn't surprise me if there's Football League takers out there for him in the summer. And then the other one is Matty Folds, who spoke to David about Matty a few months back. And, David all but confirmed that Matty will move on to pastures new in the summer as well when his contract expires. But also saying that what Folds has given him and his team, he loves Matty. He's a consummate professional. And I think he's the kind of player that Unzi would keep forever if he could. But again, I think David's words were that he's going to have a really good career, which he will. He's been another one who's been really good. So yeah, there's going to be more new faces coming through. Really time next season where it's going to be interesting to watch your Jared Brandthwaite and a few others. Your Einar Iversons, Ellis Sims will be in his second full season of under-23 football. So yeah, really, really exciting, really interesting to get to grips with a few new faces. But of those we've just mentioned there, you're probably expecting all three to leave in the next 6 months.
Okay, moving on to slightly lighter note, less serious, less all about the footy. Rick Eckloff has asked, how about some suggestions of books to read, movies to watch, or other podcasts to listen to? Gav, the author of a number of books. Have you any suggestions?
I was going to say he's going to recommend himself.
To be fair, I just suggest you go on Amazon, click Gavin Buckland, and buy the 6 or 7 times underneath there if you've not got them all together. I like the way you asked me there. Well, I know Adam bought one of my books previously when he was very young.
Yeah.
For him,
Yeah. I can't remember which one. It was the one with Dixie Dean on the cover.
Yeah, it was.
What one was that?
It was at the time when Dixie Dean was playing, by the way. Yeah.
Oh no.
That was Strange But Blue. That was in 2000. So I mean, I'm contractually obliged to say money can't buy stuff. My tale of Everton under Harry Patrick and John Morse from 1961 to 73. You all should buy that if you've not bought it already. Shame on you. To be honest with you, books are just. I like old from my time. When that 70s, 80s histories and all that. My type of footy book. But I think there's lots of stuff out there, lots of great stuff that you guys are doing. I'm also contractually obliged to mention that as well. But there's a rich vein of stuff. I'm not a great box, sort of
box set.
Netflix or that type box set. That's the word I was looking for. Type of guy, I watched Breaking Bad. That was fantastic. That was years ago. That's about it for me.
Okay.
If you've watched Breaking Bad, then get on Better Call Saul, Gav. It's decent.
Yeah, well, I've seen a couple of series of that, but not as good. I've never watched The Wire. I've never watched that either.
Oh, brilliant! Good. Yeah. Well, of course, that's one to watch. We're all emotionally obliged, not contractually, but emotionally obliged now to watch The Outsider because Carlo recommended it today to a fan on a phone call.
Yeah, he called it very dark,
yes,
which kind of scared me a little bit. Yeah. But I'm intrigued by it as well.
Yeah, so I think every Evertonian has now got to watch that.
I tell you what I've watched. I haven't said I don't watch Netflix. One is The Stranger, which is really good. And the other one, which was out a couple of years ago with the fella from Dexter, where Safe. You're not seeing that. That's got. I think they're both about 9 episodes long. Those series, they're both well worth watching.
Okay. Are there any further additions to this list?
I think the.
Go on. Did he not say ad? Did he not say ad?
I did say ad, but I don't mind.
I thought you want to add any. But you might said, does ad want to add? Maybe.
Yeah. I've confused Sam there. Sorry, everybody.
Well, it doesn't take much, does it? Well, in terms of movies, like one that I rewatched the other day was Spotlight. I absolutely love that film. Yeah, and if you haven't seen that film, I would absolutely highly recommend watching that. Apart from that, on Netflix, I've just started watching. Have you heard of that? The Tiger King.
No.
It's absolutely bizarre. It's about this fella like in America who owns, one of them like big roadside zoos, and he owns like 250 odd tigers. Wow. And just the story of him is absolutely incredible. So yeah, that's only just come out on Netflix. I would highly recommend getting into that because I am loving it.
Excellent. Well, Rick, hopefully that is that recommendation list will keep you busy for a little while. Here's another good one. Mark Ovens. If you could rewatch any Everton game while in isolation, which would it be? And if you were stuck in isolation with any Everton player, past or present, who would you choose?
Me and Adam have already discussed this. I stuck in isolation. Me and Andy van der Meijden. Just I don't even reckon I'd noticed the 3 months had passed because we just have.
What possibly could go wrong?
No, I reckon he'd love a little Desperado as well. Get FIFA on, just talk about the night out, innit? And I know the one Everton game, Man United 2005, Ferguson diving header. I was saying to Adam earlier, not the best game, but as a 9-year-old, that was my first Everton match where I just couldn't believe that a crowd could be that loud. I didn't realise that you could get thrown down like 27 rows of the lower Gladys when when we scored. You had the Rooney songs and Rooney, what's the score? When we went 1-0 up, you had Gary Neville volleying balls into the family enclosure and getting sent off. It was just I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm going to put it on.
Gavin,
I was looking at some stuff yesterday. I think going back to ads, but I mean, I'd say H&E because my favourite ever player of all time. But going back to ads, but I think a few weeks with Michael Madar would be probably quite fun as well. For some of the reasons from what Sam was saying about Van der Meijden. I think Michael Madar and Andy Van der Meijden in isolation of each other would actually be fun. But yeah, I think Mickey Madar would be good fun. I think for a couple of weeks.
Throw Royston into the flat. You've got Royston Drenthe. Oh my God!
Yeah, carnage. You could have Tommy Gravison as the landlord, couldn't you? He's got money. That'd be. I want a funny story about Tommy Gravison. A journalist told me when he resigned for Everton in 2007, when he came back on loan. I think it was just after Finch Farm had opened, and he walked into the reception. And he said, I was standing in the reception, I was waiting to interview Tommy Gravison, and he'd come down, and I was just getting signed in. And in the reception area, there was a big load of water bottles just piled up in the middle, they're just being delivered. And he said, in utter silence and completely, like, for no reason at all, Gravison went up and kicked the water bottles all over the reception.
Just for no reason.
In utter silence, and then just went back to being like sort of getting signed in. So it was just mad.
Well, there you go, Tommy Grav. Adam, have you had your pick? Sorry, mate.
No. Do you want me match or me play?
Okay. I want both, Ad. Come on.
All right.
Oh, I've not given me match, by the way. I'll do that after ads. Sorry.
Okay. No, go on. You go first. You go for your match first. Go on.
It was only televised in highlight form, but if I could relive one Everton game again, it'd be Spurs 1 Everton 2, April 1985, because it's the best Everton game I've ever been to.
Brilliant.
That'd be my game. There
you go, Adam.
For my game, I'd choose us beating Liverpool 3-0. That was an absolutely amazing day, and I remember walking home from that match. I'd been with my uncle, and my uncle was saying to me and my cousin, treasure this. This will not happen again for a long, long time. And fair play, he was absolutely right. And for player, I would choose my famously long-time best friend, Matty Pennington.
That's a bit boring, isn't it? Yeah. I was
Sam's fuming.
Sam's got off. He's angry.
Can I just say, by the way, just saying, we're being a bit of jollity. I like the way Sam calls Mr. Unsworth Dave. I'm surprised he wouldn't be happy with Dave. Very impressed, Sam. Very impressed. And also as well and I've been doing a podcast 5 years. First time I've ever heard the word juxtaposition mentioned during the podcast. Goofed by Sam before,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, just before we wrap up, we've got a few minutes before we wrap up. Final question. Liam Fitzpatrick has sent us a question. Pick your Everton five-a-side team from players you have watched. Sam?
Five-a-side team from players that I've seen. Pickford, shot stopper. Get him in there. Sylvan Distan. What a tank he'd be in the pits.
Five-a-side?
Yeah. Wouldn't be getting past over. Tommy Gravison, because you always need a psycho in five-a-side, don't you? Midfield psycho. Then Drenthe. You always need the lad who's boss of footy, but an absolute dope, don't you?
Yeah.
And then I'd probably stick myself in. I'd give myself a game to just kind of gel us all together, a little bit of us all.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, up front, Yakubu. Get Yakubu in there. What a team that is.
Gavin?
Well, I could pick anybody from the mid-80s, but I'll be a little bit more... I'd think I'd have Sidibe in there, because you've always got somebody who's either got no kit or one bit of kit in five-a-side, isn't it?
Very good. Yeah, very good.
You'd have to have Sidibe, he's got one sock, I think up front, talking about Premier League, but like our sort of podcast, you'd have to have Rom up there, wouldn't you? Up top, he'd be fantastic in five-side. Yeah. Rom, I think he'd be. You know what? I think he'd be a really good five-side player. Kevin Morales as well.
Right. Okay.
I think he'd be good. I think goalie. I think Stack would be decent in five-side.
Right.
So my last few years and stuff, I think he'd be
good penalty
decent.
saver.
Yeah, I think he'd have that. And I'm just trying to think of. So I've got Sidibe, Kevin Morales, Lukaku. As a defender, I think it'd be a beast in five-side. We had them in 1 year. I think Zuma would be great in five-side.
Wow.
Yeah, Zuma.
Interesting. Adam?
I'm just going pure quality for me. Nigel Martin in goal. Leighton Baines.
Yes.
Idrissa Gueye. Because he'll be absolutely everywhere on that five-side pitch. Deulofeu and Lukaku.
Nobody's picked Stephen Pienaar. I'm absolutely appalled.
Oh, wow. What would yours be then?
Well, I'd have Pickford, Baines, Pienaar, obviously, because they come as a package.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, and then, I'm going all out attack. Rom and Jelavic.
Jelavic in five-a-side, Phil.
Finish it.
Goal anger.
Yeah, finish it.
He'd be the Brenner.
Yella, you stay up top, lad. We'll find you. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I think that would be an easy team to play against, though. I think.
Shocking.
I'm just saying, we've just played through you, Phil. You know.
To be fair, I was toying with Idrissa because I think he'd be an absolute nightmare to play against, wouldn't he? Anyway, so.
Oh yeah, he'd be brilliant in five-a-side, but you got to have a few unusual characters. I think Sidibe would be. I think in five-a-side, he'd be the mate. He wouldn't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
He wouldn't pass to you. And you wouldn't know, you wouldn't know what to expect from them. Play with a few like that any time.
Indeed.
Sounds like Sam.
Very good. Well, on that note, we will bring an end to today's podcast, chaps. Thank you very much for dialing in on Hangouts and getting this recorded from various rooms in your homes across the region. And thank you very much for listening. Thanks to the girls who've sent in questions. Keep them coming in. We'll keep doing listener question podcasts throughout this period for however long we are all under lockdown. Hope everybody's safe and well and in good health. So thank you very much for listening. This has been the Royal Blue Podcast.